Alright, state of the Star Trek franchise YouTube and TikTok video, take two, because first one got interrupted, but it's kind of to our advantage, because hopefully the first 2 minutes will be performed better anyways, so, you know. But anyways, I'm using my Google Chromebook camera, because a big part of our content here is an old post I put in an Orville Fan Group from April 22nd, 2018. So, obviously, when it comes to the Orville versus Star Trek Discovery Season 1 war, I was very much Team Orville, but, you know, outside of all of the normal complaints about Discovery Season 1, it's all mostly just because at the time we couldn't afford CBS All Access. So, you know, when they finally put Discovery Season 1 on actual CBS, I actually watched it. I actually kind of enjoyed it, you know, despite its issues that we're going to dig into with the post. But to quickly state my case for those on the other side of the Star Trek Discovery versus the Orville conversation. If you either have been too snobby to give the Orville a chance, or if you gave the Orville a chance in Season 1 and decided, you know, had too much Family Guy humor, I don't entirely blame you. Some of the Orville Season 1's studio-imposed Family Guy bullshit is pretty lousy, but Seth definitely wasn't trying to do Family Guy in space. He actually was trying to make some legit good Star Trek, and it's turned into that. So if you have those issues with it, I would recommend starting with the 4th episode of Season 1, If the Stars Should Appear. I believe that title's right. It's been a little too long since I've done a watch through of the Orville, but that is my all-time favorite episode of the Orville so far. Well, Season 1 anyway, for sure. And then once it finds its footing in Season 2 and Season 3, it is some high-quality Star Trek. I'm hoping, and for lack of a better word, praying that we get the Orville Season 4. Seems like it's probably going to be just like the Orville Season 3. It's, you know, real-world production, feet dragging, holding it back. And you know what? Compared to old school television, it sucks, but hey, that's what the people involved making the show need, more time off. Hey, I'm all for it. I mean, hell, the Orville could frankly become its own super mega franchise if Seth and, you know, people actually wanted to do that. So anyways, and the impetus for me finally putting this together, state of the franchise stuff, is obviously Picard Season 3 has just dropped, and I wanted to get it out before I actually get to Picard Season 3, so alrighty then. I'm going to be really struggling to fit this within TikTok's time frame, so here we go. From April 22nd, 2018. Absolutely love the Orville. Finally somebody giving us what the fans want. A 25th century show. Once actual Star Trek gets their head out of their asses and it goes hashtag Back to the Future. Well, relative future anyways. What kind of show do you want? Really feel like they could do my 25th century idea and legitimize the game, meaning Star Trek Online, for us the players, and have epic crossover missions with the TV show. Then do the 26th century show as its Voyager-style successor. Okay, and then the poll options are 25th century Star Trek Online, which ended up kind of hard to figure out exactly how many votes, but it was kind of second place here. 26th century show Star Trek Andromeda, with the whole galaxy now charted, the first intentional mission towards our neighboring galaxy. That one was definitely the poll winner. 29th/30th century show Captain Braxton and/or Daniels in Star Trek Time Savers. If Daniel's actor actually wanted to do something like that, it actually would be a decent show, you have to admit, especially since trying not to do too much spoilers, because, you know, if I've got Orville fans that actually haven't embraced New Trek, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but essentially we've got a show beyond that now. 25th century Dominion War Aftermath, which, if you add that together with the other 25th century votes, that's basically kind of tied with 26th century. So, and then another poll option somebody added was 1996 Eugenics Wars, which would kind of be interesting, but having a Star Trek show that's not actually Star Trek and is just world building would be pretty weird. But you have to admit, in another generation, it might be a good idea, just because, you know, you'll have people that didn't live through the 90s being like, okay, we got to see the alternate backstory here. Alright, and then digging into our hindsight is 2020 hilarious comments here. My first comment underneath from 4 years ago. Not to mention, we need to be doing the 25th century soon if we want our old TNG DS9 Voyager actors to still be able to still appear. I fear that they'll wait too long. We'll already be losing actors when they do it. Ding, ding, ding. Unfortunately, very, very true, because we've already lost Odo, Rene Ager, however you say his French name, Auberjois, Odo. I want to say he's the only TNG DS9 Voyager major player that's actually gone, though, so thankful we are already, Picard Season 3 and this stuff. Okay, first comment that's not mine. For people's anonymity's sake, I'm not going to name names, but okay, first comment that's not mine. I love the Orville, but why must people always bash Discovery? If you don't like it, fine, watch what you want. I don't like all Star Trek shows. One in particular I don't like at all. I enjoyed Discovery and the Orville. There seems to be an underlying feeling by some Orville fans that you can't like Discovery or change the name of the group to Orville fans that hate Discovery. Okay, fair point, but that's kind of how a rivalry works, okay? I mean, he's got a legit point, and I eventually embraced that viewpoint and was trying not to be that much of a Discovery basher in my original post, but, the feelings were kind of obvious. Different commenter says, the reason a lot bash Discovery is because it doesn't have that Star Trek feel. Other than the quirky ensign, I'd imagine he's referring to Ensign Tilly, but he doesn't say. There's no one to connect with. The ideals and actions are out of the range of Starfleet, and the tech is far too advanced for being 10 years before the original series time. All very valid points that have more or less kind of been addressed by the actual show. The other commenter says back, I completely disagree. There were reasons why it felt different, and by the end of the season, it felt good to me. As far as the tech goes, sometimes 50 years later affects the look, but enjoyed it a lot. Trek fans did. A different commenter says, I like both a lot too. Another one replies, things don't become true just because you say them. Discovery has every bit of that Star Trek feel. The tech is only out of place for people with zero imagination. Give that a very delayed like, because I feel like I should have liked that comment even back then. Yeah, very, very true points. And considering we're already on 8 minutes and 8 seconds, this is not going to make the cut for TikTok's time limit, but oh well. Alright. Okay. Back to... Okay, so Kirk and McCoy sidled up to a holodeck display while hopping through the fungus network, going out with all guns blazing. This is really Starfleet to you? Because it's not to me. I remember captains using their brains and their pelvic determination to get through the situation and win the day. And it's not just me. A lot of others feel as I do. Hell, Orville has more Star Trek-y and iconic feel to it than Discovery. Okay. At that time, that statement was mostly true. Yes, many others are just as wrong about Discovery as you are. The vast majority of friends agree with me. Orville's fantastic, not Star Trek. And not even on the level of Discovery, so you don't like it. Whoop-de-effing do. I never got into Enterprise. I still acknowledge its obvious place in the grand tapestry that is Star Trek. Get over it. Discovery is here to stay. Orville doesn't have anything new. It just retreads 90s sci-fi. Okay, that's not entirely true, but kind of a valid point. Especially when it comes to Discovery, the Orville Season 1. But the Orville's branched off into their own entirely separate plot enough that I feel like it's distinctive enough to be different enough, and everybody should give it a chance. Like, yeah, Seth was definitely going for a TNG vibe, but watch the show. It is definitely not no TNG, especially in Seasons 2 and 3. Let's see. Okay. The only modern... The only thing modern about it is its effects, really. Discovery takes full advantage of modern filmmaking techniques, from cinematography to the way we structure contemporary television scripts. Okay. Kind of true. The writing of most of the new Trek shows, with the glaring exception of Picard Season 2, has been excellent. I appreciate both for what they both do and how they make me feel. Orville is a familiar cup of soup, whereas Discovery is new and exciting. I've got room for both in my sci-fi loving heart. I give that comment a very, very delayed like. Okay, now this post is for me from 10 weeks ago. Just, because I've got this post saved and I go back to it all the time. Lucky for both of us, it seems both shows have greatly improved since this post. Part of the reason we're doing the video, too. We finally managed to get Paramount Plus through my wife's phone plan. While a lot of my original concerns still stand when it comes to Discovery, I've been happily surprised with how it's acquitted itself so far. I just finished Season 2. Knowing the bits of pieces of spoiler ahead, as you do in today's day and age, I'm not looking forward to having space travel. Okay. I guess I'll skip some of this to try to be as spoiler-free for people that haven't given Discovery their chance yet as I can. Perhaps Season 3 and Season 4 have some happy surprise waiting too. For the most part, they did. I am hopeful that we'll get good news soon in our quest for the Orville's 4th season too. Okay, now, back to an original comment from me from 4 years ago. Or, yeah, whatever. 4 years plus some months, I'd imagine, since it was 2018, but... Okay, for one, my post doesn't outright say I hate Discovery. Okay. Given I said, actual Star Trek gets its head out of the ass, okay, I kind of can't justify me saying that. It is because I believe that they're making the wrong choice and being lazy creatively to keep going down the prequel path. Kind of true, but there's a counter-argument to that somebody points out later. In my personal case, and I'd say most cases, I think the hate comes from it being stuck behind the CBS All Access paywall, which, if not bad enough, the rest of the world gets it on Netflix without having to buy the extra streaming service. If they truly wanted to reach the fans, they'd insist on the show being on the actual network instead of this bullshit. Okay. Still all very valid. Another misstep was screwing with the Klingon makeup for the upteenth time. Kind of only the third major Klingon look, but yeah. In a perfect world, the TOS Klingons would have the TNG Klingon makeup and all would be right with the world. But even so, we got the joke from Mr. Worf in Trials and Tribulations, explaining it and gives us something. Now this third look undercuts all that because the explanation obviously isn't that simple anymore, is it? And I want to say at this point in time, I hadn't watched Enterprise yet. There was one time where I was injured and I had some time off work where I binged all of Enterprise in about 2 months or whatever. And surprisingly, I actually liked Enterprise, what I didn't think I was going to. So, hey. Try to have that open mind coming around. Okay, kind of the whole point of the video, right? Alright, next paragraph from the old post. Having the main character be this weird adopted daughter of Sarek and stepsister of Spock is a complete narrative failure. Since said character has no relevance in the TOS era, we already know that she either has to die before TOS, or everything happening in Discovery is minor to the overall story of Star Trek. Words that couldn't possibly sound any worse with hindsight being 2020. The new uniforms look good, but I know that's another weird thing pissing people off. Yeah. The whole biological travel drive is really weird and exploitative. Essentially, the Discovery crew is pulling an Equinox, and without the excuse of being hurled across the galaxy and trying to get home in a tiny-ass Nova class. Although, to be fair, that I'm kind of wrong with that statement a bit, too, because when you think about it, justifying exploitation's almost a little bit easier to justify with the war rather than you being lost from home. So I kind of had the morality of that paragraph backwards, but even so, the exploitation concerns of the spore drive have kind of been addressed within the actual show at this point. Okay, and finally, the ship design is the worst in the franchise. It's kind of true at the time, but it grows on you, especially when you see what they do with it over the course of the show. Enterprise has similar concerns to Discovery across the board, but is generally forgiven by fans for at least having a good design and exploring the foundations of Earth space exploration and laying the groundwork for the founding of the Federation. Okay. I want to say that was me talking out of my ass about Enterprise when I didn't actually know what I was talking about yet. Kind of the theme of this entire comment, really, since, I'm going... This is all based just on the Season 1 trailers and hype, not any actual Season 1, because I hadn't seen it yet when I wrote it. Okay, the whole them dropping an actual F-bomb on Star Trek thing I'm fine with. Fuck it. Anything that makes our characters seem more like real people and flushes them out as characters is a positive in my book. If it became like we're swearing every other word, that'd be bad because it couldn't be a family show and it'd contradict the voyage home. Okay. Very true statement there, I would feel like. Okay. Now the big elephant in the room paragraph. Well, considering I was raised by conservative Trekkies and now I'm essentially kind of a non-libertarian that doesn't exactly participate in politics anymore just because both parties are full of shit. Having a gay character, I'm not against in the sense that having everybody straight in Star Trek was never realistic. It was kind of always against the fans' wishes since the Kirk/Spock shippers are kind of one of the original LGBT cultural groups. Obviously, we have the mock ones in the Orville, and this is an Orville fan page. As long as they're letting that character grow properly and be a normal part of the show, it's fine. If it's a token representation, just throwing that he's gay in our faces every 5 minutes, that would be a problem. Okay, not much bad in that paragraph, I don't think. And I mean, God, how much my opinion has changed on that topic in my lifetime is completely laughable, because I can kind of remember the days when I'd have family members griping about gay people wanting legal marriage because of, the Christian views, and how dare they try to get free health insurance when they're living in sin, to completely being on the other side of that argument, being like, yeah, I kind of think the verse in Leviticus that's people try to say gay is wrong is more about talking about pedophilia. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, love is love, right? Alright, that's the crux of it. If any of this is ignorant to what's actually on the show, which most of my 180 on that personal opinions, mostly my wife's influence on the topic. I mean, so yeah, that's changed me a lot in 8 years, or yeah, I met my wife in 2014. That's the crux of it. If any of this is ignorant to what's actually on the show, that's kind of part of the point. This is the vibe that the show's been marketed as. If they'd given it to actual CBS, I'd have checked it out. But again, I refuse to give them more for their paywall. Okay. Closing paragraph, basically true. Basically, Right. Okay. Back to one of the previous commenters. Actually thinks it takes more creativity to put Discovery before TOS. To be able to write good storylines inside Trek canon is very difficult. If you put it after Deep Space Nine / Voyager, it would have a much cleaner slate. Okay. Very, very true. Very hilarious statement given the hindsight being 2020. So giving that comment a very, very delayed like. My original reply. Both are with their challenges. Going further has the challenge of having explored so much already and finding a new direction. In either way, sticking with continuity is a challenge regardless. Okay. Somebody just put Fox, STO, probably in reference to Star Trek Online. Okay, another person writes, TNG era covering the Cardassian War could be interesting. Had the nicest ships in the series and could be pretty standalone without damaging Star Trek history. I'd probably be... Okay, my original reply to this comment was that'd probably be more like a one-season mini-series than series, but love it. It always felt so weird hearing about those important events and not seeing any of it. Yeah, that's very, very true. If we actually dig into some Dominion War aftermath in Picard Season 3, hopefully we actually get some flashback with that kind of stuff. I mean, in some ways I don't know how you do it without Colin Meaney and doing flashbacks with digitized young O'Brien, but still could be good. Okay, replying to this person that added, Dominion War Aftermath is an option. I take it you mean exploring the time in between Voyager and Star Trek Online, which would be badass. Adding options and ideas to the poll is welcome. And then the person wrote back, I'd love to see how Cardassia looked like 10 to 15 years after the war and Bajor's role in the Federation. And I'd like to see more about the Zenkethi Coalition and Andorians. Like all the races that were mentioned, had enough experiences to be intriguing, but never went any further. Klingons, on the other hand, had been totally overused. Okay. Hilarious, but not entirely relevant to our purposes. Somebody wrote, please keep the Orville and Trek separate. Orville is its own show for the 100th time, and that's... Considering this was written in Orville Fan Group, this is the most liked comment in the entire post. Kind of fair. Another person puts, I couldn't agree more. Star Trek has been ruined. Let's keep the Orville pure. Somebody else wrote Star Trek is like a well STD in reference to Discovery, more than likely crapped in it. Okay. Another person writes, keep the new Trek out of it. Okay, now this is a post or a comment from me when Picard was finally announced. We may be actually getting something close to what we want with them going into Picard's future. Star Trek finally going 25th century. Post-Voyager at last. Yes! And, if I try to remember if I'd actually mentioned it or not yet. Kind of loved Picard Season 1, despite some minor issues with it. Picard Season 2 is extremely well acted, but I really have issues with the story and the recklessness of their time travel and the obvious temporal prime directive violations that they so obviously commit without anybody interfering in Picard Season 2. But considering Q was the architect of all that, in the future they could hand wave that away with being like, oh yeah, you weren't actually in the past, you were obviously in Q's fantasy world, so whatever. To me, that's what I would do if I was actually on the writing staff. It sucks to Roseanne wins the lottery an entire season of Star Trek, but to me, that would make the most sense. Especially since they reused a bunch of actors under contract for completely different roles that, while obviously their acting was great, it's... Yeah, okay. Somebody wrote he will be working the glory hole at the Klingon embassy. Crude Family Guy humor commenter. And then I post a GIF from The Princess Bride that's... damn, what's his name within the show? I actually remember his damn actor name because of my wife's insistence on rewatching Criminal Minds all the damn time. Both names are jumping out of my head, but my name is Amigo Montoya. Yeah, the gift of him telling Vincini, you keep using that word. I don't think you understand what it means. Given that glory to the Klingons would not be what the commenter's talking about. Why are you posting about Star Trek here? Dude, seriously. I mean, obviously it's an Orville post or an Orville fan page, but come on now. And then somebody that I was talking to about this post and wanted to tag them to show them our poll results. I put, here's our results from last year, Ryan, trying to leave people's names off of this. So, okay, here I'm going to write a comment. Okay. New comment from me. Revisiting this post for my Star Trek state of the franchise video created and uploaded on Star Trek Picard Season 3 release night while I know people hate getting notifications for ancient posts. So sue me revisiting our post and pull from April 22nd, 2018 helped me make what is hopefully a good YouTube video. Hashtag renew the Orville. Hashtag the Orville Season 4. Hashtag Picard Season 3. Okay, so now that comment is posted, and then once the video is uploaded, I'm obviously going to drop the video in here too, so people that had original comments can find out that, hey, I rehashed the entire post in a YouTube video, so, you know, unless I become the next Steve Shides big freaking whoop, but, you know, still a shout out to what was mostly a civil and respectful conversation about, you know, the rivalry between the Orville Season 1 and Star Trek Discovery Season 1. So, now to branch out into all of the new Trek that I haven't exactly mentioned up to now. I think my favorite new Trek overall so far has been Star Trek Prodigy, which has been a great, amazing, happy surprise, given that it's the kids' show. I mean, I cannot wait till they start releasing Prodigy Season 2. Okay? Strange New Worlds also has a lot of great moments. Trying to bridge the gap between Discovery Season 1 and Season 2 and TOS with Strange New Worlds was obviously a brilliant move and probably part of the plan from day one in some ways, because, or at least it was very obvious and logical once, you know. But anyways, I'm trying to make sure I don't forget a series. I actually started with Lower Decks when I first got Paramount Plus from my wife getting Paramount Plus with the phone plan changing. We went from Hulu to Paramount Plus with the phone plan, so I gave Lower Decks a chance first, and slightly mixed feelings with Lower Decks, but it obviously has its amazing niche place in the Star Trek universe too. It's, I mean, yeah, Lower Decks is a quality show. It, for those of you griping about the Orville's Family Guy content, if you will, it's kind of it's probably the Star Trek that has the most Family Guy content, if you will, which, considering that it's kind of modeled after those adult cartoons, makes the most sense, obviously. Let's see. Oh, I really do not want to forget a show, because I've actually enjoyed all of the new Star Trek shows, so. Okay, Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, Prodigy. Why does it feel like I'm still forgetting one? That might be it, though. Alright, well, if I actually figure out one, I'll just add the conversation in the comments. Alrighty. If you're enough of a Trek fan and enough of an Orville fan to have watched and enjoyed my State of the Franchise video here, thank you so much, and live long and prosper.